Silverstein, MD, for the Preventive Medicine Center and West Hartford Cable Access TV, and I'm sitting here in my lovely kitchen. Next recordings will be in the studio, which is good news. Now, the name of this program is Putting It All Together. I'm not sure we're really going to put it all together, but we're going to make a few stabs here and there that I think you'll find of interest. Probably highest on the priority is a discussion of mental health. Mental health is not adequately attended to. Recently, Naomi Osaka, who refused for psychological reasons to give interviews to the press, has been both criticized and praised. And the only thing I would say about that is if it's in the contract, then you get the rules changed after you fulfill the contract. I'm not criticizing her. I'm saying that that is the concept of living by the rules which protect us all. It has to do with a concept called sanity. Sanity is understanding reality. Reality is based on knowing what is considered right and what is considered wrong, or other words we sometimes use, morality, maturity, and so on. When one breaks the rules, that is a move in the wrong direction. And not that we all don't. We should have a degree of compassion and softness in our responses. And certainly there should be great concern for Naomi Osaka. I don't think she should have been forced to have her conference with the press, but I thought that some kind of response was appropriate for the people with whom she signed the contract. Now, going on, several different things about masks. I wish to address the concept of needing to be masked. I've published at my website, www.the PMC, Preventive Medicine Center, thepmc.org. When you put that in, you can put that in directly, or you can put my name in Google and you'll find a link to it. On the right-hand side of that homepage are 3 different articles written about the coronavirus and masking and so on. One of them is 200 Microsoft pages long, so you can sift through that with a control find and look up masks and find the information that you need. Basically, my position recently on Facebook and on Quora, my favorite chat room, my position is this, and the science, and I know now that's almost a dirty word, the science. Everybody claims to have the science. Well, either believe me or don't believe me, take your pick. If you think I know what I'm talking about, then believe it. Here's the deal. If you have had the coronavirus infection, or if you are double vaccinated plus 14 days, for all reasonable probability, you are immune to reinfection, which means you can go anywhere, including an intensive care unit where they are caring for patients with the coronavirus, and you are immune. Now, there are some caveats. First of all, I don't recommend going into an intensive care unit. First of all, you can't just walk in. And second of all, a bit of caution is always reasonable. So, but I try to give that as a sense of perspective of just how protected you are. Now, what are the actual numbers? The actual numbers are like 1 in 10,000 up to 1 in a million that you could either be infected. Now we're going to introduce a new word, colonized. Infected versus colonized. Infected means you show symptoms of being ill. When you show symptoms of being ill, is that due to the coronavirus or is that due to another virus? Interestingly, as you know, there was essentially no flu this year, but that had to do with people separating and wearing masks, washing their hands, and so on. So the coronavirus, which I believe is somewhere between 2 and 3 times as dangerous as the flu, and certainly less dangerous than the flu for children, is I sort of lost my train of thought. My train of thought is that you are immune if you've had the virus infection, or if you are double vaccinated plus 14 days at a very, very high level. You are immune. You are susceptible to infection at a very, very, very low level. Now, the CDC guidelines, which have been too often wrong, and the state rules are such that we still have to wear masks indoors. Truthfully, that's unnecessary. That's unnecessary in hospitals. That's unnecessary on trains, on planes, in modes of transportation, because of the statistics I just gave you. Now, you might say, well, I'm not willing to take a chance of 1 in 10,000 or 1 in a million. And my response would be, you take more chances than that every day by simply getting in your car or going here or there, being hit by lightning, or that one always seems strange to me. I hardly believe anybody gets hit by lightning, but on the other hand, we know it's a reality, but I've never heard of, well, actually, I've had a couple of patients who have been hit by lightning. Over many, many years of practice, that's not very many people. So going on. Needing masks now is unnecessary. So I wrote the powers that be at St. Francis Hospital and over at Hartford Hospital, and said that perhaps we should petition the governor to change the rules. Now, I did this a couple of months ago. Well, let me tell you, that created a wrinkle, as have some of my other suggestions created a wrinkle. I am a believer in the use of the following combination. If you contract the virus, and I've treated a small number of people who uniformly got 50% better in one day. They've been sick, treated, boom, 50% better in one day. Now, maybe it was my treatment, and maybe it was just time for them to get well. But the fact of the matter is, I've seen this pattern enough times to realize that the following combination of treatment works, and it's a strange one. Ivermectin may be the most important part of that. And oh, that's got a bad reputation. It's an anti-parasite drug that is actually very, very safe. And I use that in a moderate dosage, along with prednisone. Prednisone is a steroid drug like the one that's being touted called dexamethasone. Now, it turns out somebody did a study that showed a cousin of prednisone, methylprednisolone, which is almost identical to prednisone, is slightly more effective than dexamethasone, the one that is being used in all the hospitals. That plus Lipitor, the anti-statin, the anti-cholesterol medication, an 81 milligram dose of aspirin, uncoated, chewed, Pepsid, over-the-counter Pepsid, trade name Pepsid, generic name famotidine, Famotidine. And I think I'm forgetting one other thing. Aspirin, Pepsid, Lipitor. If you have a high heart rate, I prescribe a beta blocker. Just incidentally, my favorite beta blocker for biochemical reasons is Bystolic, Bystolic. It's not right for everything, but certainly in this case, it's good. And it can be chewed up as necessary to bring the heart rate down. So if you're sitting there with the infection and your heart rate is, say, 85, 90, 100, 110, then I would have you take a beta blocker. Turns out Bystolic is a trade drug, so you can't get a generic of that, whereas you can get a generic of either Lopressor or Toprol, which are metoprolol tartrate and succinate, or atenolol. And that brings the heart rate down, and you don't feel quite as bad. Carvedilol is another choice called trade name Coreg. So those are the things that I do for people who have the coronavirus infection. And so far, so good. Seems to work very well. People get well real quick. Now, what about preventing the infection? We've probably been through that a number of times. Quercetin, an antihistamine vitamin or supplement, over the counter. Uh, Vitamin D, 5 to 10,000 units a day during the period of your protection. I don't recommend 10,000 units indefinitely. I recommend 5,000 units 5 days a week for most people all year long in order to get to a proper vitamin D3 level of 50 to 66 nanogram per ml. Now, vitamin C, 500 milligrams or 1,000 milligrams once or twice a day. And then I like immune stimulants like Immune Renew, made by the company Now, N-O-W. And those are the things that I say you can do preventatively. Now, pretty much the pandemic is over. And that's because of the high number of people who've been vaccinated or had the infection, both asymptomatic and symptomatically. I feel that we should view this pandemic as in the rearview mirror. It's over. Interestingly, I heard a statistic today that something like 71% of Democrats believe that people should still stay home. As a Democrat, I simply can't understand that. I just don't know what the logic of that is. In fact, I will just simply say there is no logic. So let's go back. So what I wanted to do was to get St. Francis to join with Hartford Hospital, to join with UConn, petition the governor to stop the need for mask wearing for those people who were either vaccinated or who had had the infection. And I sent that out a couple of months ago. And like I said, it was not too well received at all. And my burden to carry, I'd liken myself, I flatter myself by calling myself Cassandra. Cassandra knew the truth, but nobody would believe her. Yes, yes, yes. I'm such a great doctor. Yes, yes, I'm so smart. No, I'm just kidding. I hope you get that. All right. Now, today I went into 2 stores where you did not have to wear your mask if you didn't want to. And I thought that was a real step forward. One was Stop and Shop. And, but I don't know whether the people in there didn't know that rule. I didn't know it until I was checking out. And, but like 90% of people were still wearing a mask. There is a mentality of negativity out there. And that sort of goes back to the whole psychology of this pandemic. The need for support and reality. Part of the problem has been what the public has been told so often is wrong. And that starts at the very top. By that, I mean the people at the CDC, the National Institutes of Health, and so on. So let's change the subject and keep it the same. Did the pandemic start in China, and where in China did it start? Yes, I believe it started in China. Now, the thing that is most impressive to me is about how the Chinese government has been so secretive, how they've not allowed various groups to interview scientists. They've limited access to records. If that doesn't, I know it's not absolute proof, but to me, it's too much of a smoking gun to disregard. There are satellite pictures that show in the middle of October that traffic and telephone traffic was completely shut down around the Wuhan Virology Institute. To me, that shows a 4-alarm fire. And I don't mean fire. That means that I think the virus got out by mid-October. Then there were the people who got sick mid to later October, if not November, who worked at the Wuhan Virology Institute and were hospitalized with a flu-like picture, which almost certainly was coronavirus infection. I consider that far more probable than the concept that has been touted that it went through an intermediate animal like a pangolin or a dog or a snake and then came to human beings that way. Uh, the story about bats, those bats are those bat caves are hundreds of miles away from Wuhan and the Wuhan Virology Institute. And yes, people from the Wuhan Virology Institute went into those caves, and several of those people got sick and also died. Uh, or I guess they died. I'm not absolutely certain. If you want to check this out, go to my website, www.thepmc.org. There's this long paper, and you can search through it for the proof. Included in there is the information about reinfection rate from people who've either had the virus or who have been immunized being microscopic. So once again, I would like to say that for the vast majority of Americans, this pandemic is over. Is it over 100%? No, it's no more over 100% than auto accidents are over 100%, or that there are adverse reactions to every medicine you know. All right, so going on. I have a little show and tell today. Do people floss their teeth? This is a floss called Glide. And I've been told this is the best one. It's the one I use. I've also been told by my dentist, Ted Adamitis in Newington, that most people don't do flossing correctly. So learn how to do it. What aspirin do I recommend? This is the 81 milligram aspirin, but this is the coated aspirin, but I don't recommend the coated aspirin. So what do I say to do? This one is much more available than the chewable, plus the fact that chewable's got all those chemicals in it that make me worry a little bit. I say bite into the cover on this, put it in your mouth, give it a little bite, and then that'll allow the internal portions to be absorbed. Next this is really, I give Sally Roberts, attorney Sally Roberts, credit for this one. She brought this to my attention. This is called Digestive Freedom Plus, and it's a dropper. And this is to be used for those people who don't have a physician's need for a PPI, Prilosec, Nexium, Omeprazole, Dexilant, Esomeprazole, Protonix, Pantoprazole. All of those are PPIs. Now, why am I so opposed to PPIs? I've said it before on this program. All drugs are poison, and then I tell you the joke. All drugs are, when my patients ask me, well, what are the side effects of this medicine? I say, all drugs are poison, and I hope I don't kill you. And everybody laughs at that. When I say everybody, I mean years and years and years of 100% laugh when I say that. I'm not much of a comedian, although some people think I'm a little bit funny. So two recent studies that there's an increased incidence of stomach cancer from people who use the PPIs, and there's also an increased incidence of gallbladder and liver cancer in people who use the PPIs. That list I just named: Omeprazole, Prilosec, Esomeprazole, Nexium, Pantoprazole, Protonix, Dexilant. I forget what the generic name for that is. So this is Digestive Freedom Plus, and then that gets paired with this, Esophageal Guardian. This is from Life Extension. I am not advertising, I am educating. I'm telling you what I think works together. Some of it is trade, some of it is generic, and so on and so on. So the Esophageal Guardian contains alginic acid, which sort of coats things. It also contains some calcium, some magnesium, strawberry extract, ellagic acid from pomegranate. Oh, that's good stuff. All right, so for indigestion, acid reflux, Digestive Freedom Plus, and Esophageal Guardian. This is something that I'm not sure I've shown before. This is Himalayan salt inhaler. And you can see what you do is you suck on this and you take salt into your lungs. You don't take enough to be worried about a salt controlled diet or that it'll raise your blood pressure, but it's sort of good for asthma prevention and treatment. I got that at Mondazi Books out in Windsor, I think it is. Windsor, yeah, I think it's Windsor. Next is this. This is Cap Barbell. This is the 5-pounder. I love these barbells because of their thick handle and the fact that they're neoprene coated so they aren't cold. They feel good in your hands. The thicker handle makes it fit better. Now, what about women with smaller hands? They may want the old-fashioned type barbell, but I suspect this will be right for them too. So all I do is I march around the house doing the cross-country ski action. And when I say march, no, I don't march. I walk through the house, and sometimes I squat down because that gets the gluteus a little more tensed up. So you're swinging your arms back and forth like you're doing the cross-country ski action. And that's really fabulous exercise. No, you don't have to exercise for 30 minutes. 31-minute exercises equal 30 minutes. So you could do 2 minutes here, 1 minute there, 30 seconds here. As a matter of fact, you can lift yourself out of the chair like that, and that's exercise. And you can put your legs up and push them together and push on the floor. There are all kinds of ways to get more exercise in if you just use a little creativity. Now, next, I want to talk about emotional regulation technique may be effective in disrupting compulsive addiction. Most people, now I left out the word cocaine in that. This is a program at Mount Sinai Hospital in New York City, and it's about cognitive reappraisal. And cognitive sort of makes sense what you think. Let's have a different view of what we're looking or thinking about, a different perspective on it. So this program was used in people who are addicted to cocaine, and it taught them to think differently about the cues that they get for that. I'm not really so much, my focus is not really cocaine. As a matter of fact, I'm unaware of any of my patients currently using cocaine. But the vast majority of my patients are overweight and have an eating addiction, just habitual eating. They may or may not be hungry, but there are little cues that make them start to think about food. So what this does, first of all, is sort of open your mind to start thinking about what it is you're about to do. And you may call that being in the moment. And what it is simply getting focused. If you looked at what you are about to do, even though you may be hungry and want to eat something, you will realize you can put it off. Or you can see that sort of going straight to your waist. You can visualize this, and you give yourself the help to say, well, maybe I don't need to eat this piece of bread, sandwich, potato chips, yogurt, whatever it is that you might reach for that you should not. Obviously, what I always recommend is a high fiber diet. As a matter of fact, I have a diet at the office that I call the healthiest diet. However, I always say the best diet is the one that works. The healthiest diet is what I recommend. And I try to get people to marry those two ideas together. So let's get back to cognitive reappraisal. Disrupt the brain's automatically attention, it uses the word bias, predisposition to these cues. In other words, to break the positive attitude about food, being relief, comforting, your friend, satisfying, disrupt the brain's automatic attention bias to these cues, potentially leading to a reduction in compulsive drug, in this case food, seeking behavior. So it's about drug-related cues in the environment, and I would say food-related cues in the environment. Let's see, biases, the attentional system of the brain towards enhanced attention to drug or food in this case, cues in the environment, also known as attention bias, which is considered a risk factor for relapse. So let's see, chronic use of substances, including cocaine, and let's put food in there, biases the attentional system, paying attention, of the brain towards enhanced attention to drug, let's put food in there, related cues in the environment, also known as attention bias, which is considered a risk factor for relapse. Cognitive reappraisal is an emotion regulation technique in which individuals are trained to self-regulate, thereby engaging the front part of the brain, the prefrontal cortex, the emotional response to a cue by reinterpreting its meaning. So those people who are successful, who have the strong predisposition to continued eating, if they can just get themselves to take a pause whenever they want to go after food, and that means engaging the prefrontal cortex. All right, enough of that. There's a company I keep getting emails from about food that will last 25 years. I'm sure it's in packets. It's been dehydrated. It's got this 25-year storage. They do have some fruits and vegetables. So today I emailed the company back, and somebody got back to me, and I said that they ought to have, they have fruits and vegetables, but everything else either has cheese or dairy or meat in it. And it's not like I'm totally against that, but I've been away from dairy so long that if I eat it, I get loose bowels. So I'm no longer tolerant of milk products. So what I suggested is that they have an unprocessed, holy cow, that went by fast, 28 minutes. So I asked them if they couldn't get some unprocessed grains like brown rice, quinoa, whole barley, oat groats, millet, and also some beans like lentils, chickpeas, black-eyed peas, split peas, and so on. So I hope that's been helpful. It's time to put this pandemic behind you. If you've not been vaccinated, then take the vitamin C and the vitamin D and the quercetin is along with the Immune Renew 5 days a week. I believe the body needs a break. And I'm not telling you to do it. That's what I would have. If somebody asked me, that's what I would tell them to do. And of course, limit exposure to sugar, which reduces immunity. Get proper exercise and rest. Wash your hands frequently. Wear your mask when in a crowded environment. Try to keep 3-foot distancing. And have a positive attitude. It's time to stop the fear. Our country and our government are running on fear and negativity. That is a bad idea. Well, I hope this has been a help. Let me know what you think. H. Robert Silverstein, MD, FACC, for the Preventive Medicine Center. We do have email at the Preventive Medicine Center. Hope you enjoyed the program.